Hello everyone and welcome back to Chris Aquatics. I've been breeding my shrimp for around 5 years now, and I've had my yellow cherry shrimp colony for around 6 months. I started these guys off with around 10 shrimp, and we're at the amount we have today, probably over 100 or so. So I thought I would share a bit of my knowledge with you guys and see if I can get any of you to get a colony thriving just like mine. Firstly, I would just like to mention that everyone has different experiences with these kinds of animals, and don't expect anything to be absolutely perfect. Things are going to go wrong, and I've had my fair share of crashes of tanks and woken up to sights that I never wish I could have seen, and it just happens, and it's some things you just can't avoid and some things you can. So just trying to be able to avoid the things that you can is always the best that you can do. Yellow cherries are a great starter shrimp, however I wouldn't recommend buying them from a pet store as they tend to sell them for a lot more than they're worth, and the grade from pet stores tends to be a lot lower than what you can get from a local breeder. So I'd totally recommend to look around your area. In Australia we have Gumtree, I'd highly recommend that. I've sold on there as well, and the prices are a lot cheaper. I've got mine for $2 each on there, so it's best to look for a local breeder as opposed to a pet store. One of the most important parts of your shrimp tank is keeping it as healthy as possible. My recommendation is keeping ramshorn snails in your tank. They're aesthetically pleasing and they do a very good job at keeping your tank as clean as possible. When I do this tank, I tend to remove the big piece of driftwood out of the middle, as all the shrimp, as you can see, hide underneath it, and it makes it a lot easier to clean the tank. Making your life as easy as possible when it comes to maintenance is also very helpful. If you're trying to breed your shrimp for profit, I would certainly recommend heating your tank, as it will certainly speed up the breeding process quite a lot and you'll get a lot more babies. They do tend to also grow a lot quicker. It does tend to shorten their lifespan a little bit, but if you're just doing it for profit or to get a larger size colony, then going for heaters is very helpful. I don't keep any heaters in my tanks, but as you can see, it doesn't seem to make too big of a difference. You certainly will get a lot more babies if you do keep heaters, but I've still had plenty of breeding without. Another major aspect of shrimp keeping that people don't seem to know as much that can be a major issue is your hands. When putting them in your tank, you're going to be very careful that you don't have things on them that can kill your shrimp, which they can die from pretty easily. So you've got to be very, very careful. I wash my hands with soap and then I rinse them out very thoroughly before I go into my tanks and use my hands like this, and I recommend that you guys also do the same. When it comes to the substrate, I would highly recommend using gravel or sand when it comes to these kinds of shrimp. These aren't Caridina that would benefit from aquasoil, so I don't think that major expense is needed. The way you know you have a healthy tank is if the walls of your shrimp tank are green algae and not brown. The brown algae isn't able to be consumed by your little shrimp, so I recommend getting rid of it. I had a bit of build up in this tank, so I had to get rid of it. I just use a basic sponge you get from a hardware store and it does the trick. Another place you wouldn't know a lot of build-up occurs is in the tube on top of your sponge filter, so make sure to clean that out every time you do a water change. In my shrimp tanks I have all these little coconut hides that I've carved out myself and attached some moss to it with some basic fishing line, and you can also do this as well. I'm just showing you guys. When it comes to doing my water changes, I make sure that my water change tube is on the opposite side of the tank from where the most of the shrimp are, as fishing them out of the bucket can be a real pain. I also made this little contraption to add the water in slowly in a sort of a drip method to lower the stress of the shrimp, but also don't forget to add your dechlorinator, as you don't want to run into any problems in that sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. If you enjoyed any part of this video, I'd really appreciate a like or a subscribe. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you start to realize that your shrimp have slowed down in breeding, you could also have the problem where you have too many shrimp, and in that situation you can just sell off a few and use that money to buy extra shrimp food or something like that. But there's a couple telltale signs that you can take a look for, just in case. One of these telltale signs is called the white line or the ring of death that you can see in the back of your shrimp. This line is the result of your shrimp attempting to molt and failing due to the water hardness not being ideal for your shrimp. One of the easiest ways to solve this is by adding some crushed coral into your aquarium, which should soften up the water a bit. I feed my shrimp a mixture with the algae wafer being on the left, the snowflake food being in the middle, and the protein pellet being on the right. And as you can see, they take to it very easily. It makes it very easy for the babies to get a hold of it as well as the adults. If you have any more knowledge, feel free to leave it down in the comment section down below. I've also made an Instagram account that I'll be posting a few sneak peeks of my shrimp in a few short videos and some photos before I post my videos. And if you guys want to message me over there, I'm happy to answer any of your questions that you guys might have. Until next time, happy shrimp keeping and have a nice day.